Tonight, we are practicing three things, kind of. So I had originally just sort of described this class as we're going to do HamSa with restorative. I kind of also, in putting this together, decided that we would do Kumbhaka HamSa with restorative. So you don't have to know what any of that is. I'm going to tell you, and then we're going to practice it. So first, for some reason I keep seeing cars driving past, so it keeps distracting me. Anyway, first thing I want to do is, since everybody doing this class tonight is virtual, I don't have you in front of me. Let's just take a moment to get settled and do your own kind of check-in. Normally, if you were in front of me, I would ask you, how are you doing? How are you feeling? And so just take a moment to do a little bit of check-in with yourself. Notice where your energy is at. Where's your mind? If your thoughts are kind of wandering and scattered, if you need to, write down thoughts, something that you need to take care of so that you can be more present here. I just switched the speaker, so it might have switched from what was on my laptop to what's in my ear. So hopefully you can hear me a little bit better. It just occurred to me that I had changed it the other day. So once you've sort of done a little bit of a check-in with yourself, then let's do just a little bit of movement. I don't know what you've done today. This may be, if you're watching this recorded, then this may be morning or afternoon. I have no idea what you've done with your body. So let's come into an easy seated position. And like I normally do at the beginning of my classes, just do a little bit of torso rotation. So getting into those hips that are tight for everybody. Nice big circles. And then let's do some circles, work up your spine. So let's do some circles with your waist, sort of creating this circle with your rib cage. What I like to describe this as is, imagine your rib cage as like a spatula, and you're trying to scrape the sides of this bowl, sides of a bowl with your spatula. And let's come back to center. Bring your other leg in front. Let's rotate in the opposite direction. Start big. And notice how one side of your body feels versus the other. My left hip is pretty tight. And I like doing some asana, some poses prior to doing any kind of meditation work. Just in general, you're looking to get any body aches, pains, discomfort out of the way so it's not a distraction for your meditation. Let's move up the spine, get back into your rib cage. Let's see if we can make big circles. But that said, the one thing about meditation is we are not these old gurus that are up in the mountains in a cave. We have life around me right now. There's a gal upstairs who is very loud. And you can't control things around you. You can only control your reaction to them. So part of meditation is being able to still your mind, be mindful, be focused, even with all the stuff going on around you. All right, let's come back to center, grab onto your shins, rock over your sit bones. Inhale, draw your belly button forward, exhale, rock it back. You're rocking on your sit bones and using your shins as leverage to sort of pull against. Focusing on the tilt of your pelvis or your lower spine, your lumbar spine, just getting some different movement in your hips. I can actually feel this in my left ankle a little bit. My left leg is pretty tight all over. And let's bring your hands to your knees. Inhale your chest forward, exhale it back. And on your inhale, draw your chin up to the ceiling. Exhale, chin to chest. Inhale, lift your chin. Exhale, chin to chest. Once more, inhale, lift your chin. And exhale, chin to chest. Keep your chin against your chest, drop your shoulders, press the back of your neck up into the ceiling. Trying to keep your chin against your chest, slide your chin over to the left, like your chin is like windshield wipers. And then let's windshield wiper over to the right. Windshield wiper to the left. And let's slide over to the right. Lift your chin up and over to the left. Lift up and over to the right. Oh, my neck. Lift up and over to the left. Let's go back up and over to the right. And bring your head back to center. Left arm out to the left, right hand to your heart. Inhale, draw your left arm back. Exhale, right arm back. Inhale left, exhale right. Now inhale to the right, exhale to the left. And let's slow down, come back to center. Let's pause for just a few breaths in the middle. Take deep breaths through your nose, soften your face, soften your jaw. Make sure you have space between your back molars. Let your tongue sort of spread and settle between your teeth so you're not clenching. Lift your eyebrows, put them back down again. Shoulders drop away from your ears, but you have a nice long spine. So you can rest and sort of soften other parts of your body, but make sure that you are sitting upright and using your back muscles to keep yourself upright, your core muscles and your back. See if you can have most of that effort happen, core and back. And if you feel anything going on in your hip flexors, which I do, then make sure that you are sitting on something so that your hips are higher than your knees. So what I like to do, so we're going to talk just a little bit about sitting so that your seated posture also isn't a distraction to you. So I like to sit on a cushion. Sometimes I like to sit with my legs crossed and my shins are resting on the floor. Now, I can do this because my feet, my ankles and shins, calf muscles are flexible enough to allow the tops of my feet to be flat to the floor. Also, this is a rotation on my hips that lets my hips sit in this particular way. So this is what it looks like from the side. And I'm coming forward. So you can see how I slide forward. And what this actually does is this makes my pelvis perpendicular to the floor. So you would think, so when I'm sitting like this, I feel like my body feels like my pelvis is very tilted forward. When in fact, what I'm doing is I'm putting my pelvis in the right spot, because a well-placed pelvis feels like it's pouring forward, because your ilium, these Mickey Mouse ears of your hips, they're going upright instead of pulling back, which is how we frequently stand and sit. We sit rounded, and that brings your pubic bone up. So if you sit forward, you're kind of pouring forward. So this is one way, sitting cross-legged, either on a meditation pillow or a blanket or something. The other way that I like to sit is kneeling, and you can bring a pillow of some sort, and it can be fairly high. So I like to sit high, and you're sort of straddling the thing. And what this does, this is probably arguably my favorite way to sit, because I don't have, my knees are not, well, I don't even know what they ever used to be. High school volleyball sort of did my knees in. But so you can see here, several things are happening. My hips are not resting on my heels. So I'm not putting any pressure and weight on my heels. Also, I'm not really squeezing my knees a lot. So I have nice blood flow. My feet are not going to fall asleep. This is not going to hurt my knees. My pelvis is perpendicular to the floor, which is lovely. So it's really hard to slouch. Like if I'm slouching, this is still a pretty nice posture. If you want to try this, but your challenge is that your shins or ankles, you can't lay them flat to the floor, then roll up, like little hand towels are great, washcloths, and put them underneath your ankles to let them rest like that. So I'm gonna probably sort of go between those two, the cross-legged and this one, as we're going through stuff. Now, tonight, so as I said, we're going to practice Kumbhaka and HamSa with restorative. So restorative yoga, so I'm going to start at the end and talk about that first. Restorative yoga, the whole point of restorative yoga is to lay in a very propped, very comfortable position for maybe 15 to 20 minutes. So what I'd like for you to do, and if you have to pause or step away for a second, get as many things, pillows, blankets, or whatever, is what I'm going to have you do is we're going to have maybe one big restorative pose, doing HamSa, where we're going to do a kind of a reclining cobbler. And so what reclining cobbler is, let me put myself in this position, and then you can go get some stuff that might help you with this. So you might need a big pillow and then two little pillows. You're going to have your feet together. Oh my goodness. Oh, and then there you go. Oh, holy cow, this is great. I can't teach like this, but this is what I want you to accomplish. So you might have some blankets because maybe you want to rest your arms on something. This is a nice chest opener, but depending on your proportions and your pillows, it might be too much. You may need something to lift your pelvis here, but do get something to rest your knees and to give yourself this sort of back support. You can do this on the floor, on the bed, on the couch, whatever you want. So anyway, take some time and go get this stuff. I'm going to keep on talking on the assumption you're going to pause this. So that's going to be the, that's sort of the last thing that we're doing kind of before we wrap up the class is that. So let me talk about Kumbhaka and HamSa a little bit before we start the practice, because I'd like to get the description of it out of the way so that we can just sort of flow through the two things. So we're going to ease into HamSa at the end. This is not hard. This is not complicated stuff. We're going to do several different breathing exercises or pranayama in order to get to HamSa. HamSa itself is a kind of pranayama practice, but as I will always say, and I think many yogis will agree with me, pranayama, breathing exercises, breath regulation, it's meditation too. So saying that these things are separate isn't really true. So they're two sides of the same coin. And they may even be the same side, the same coin. I mean, it's hard to separate breathing exercises and meditation. Kumbhaka is also primarily a pranayama. Kumbhaka is a practice, the term itself, Kumbhaka, means empty pot. Kumbhaka is an interesting practice because you can do it a number of ways, but primarily what you are practicing is holding at the top, and that space at the top of a breath. And that is called Antara Kumbhaka, is when you're at the top of the inhalation. So the retention of breath, you're holding it. And then when you exhale and you're at the bottom and you're completely empty, this is called Vaya Kumbhaka. This is the suppression of breath, or the suspension of breath. There is none. This is the empty pot. You're inhaling. Antara. Exhaling. Vaya. So we will practice that. And we're going to sort of ease into, we're going to do primarily an Antara Kumbhaka practice where you're focusing on the sensation of the Antara, the holding, the retention at the top of the inhale. It is a more intermediate practice to practice the Vaya, simply because when you practice pranayama, the breath is the one thing you can't live without. This is why pranayama is life force. And because you can live for a certain amount of time without food and water and all sorts of things, but a few minutes without air and you're done. So when practicing a pranayama where you are practicing the sensation of emptiness, this is where some people can feel anxious. So, which is then the opposite of what you're trying to accomplish in a pranayama practice. So with Kumbhaka, we will practice we're going to work into a rhythm of noticing the breath and then working on a rhythm that gets us into maybe 3 to 4 beats on the inhale, maybe 3 to 4 beats holding, and then 6 to 8 breaths on the exhale. And we're not really going to spend a whole lot of time holding the exhale. We're just going to come right back into the inhale. Okay, so this is what we will practice. And we'll do that for probably about 5 minutes. There will be a progression that we do prior to even getting to Kumbhaka. We're easing ourselves into this. Then we will release the practice of Kumbhaka and notice the breath, notice how your body feels, sensations in your body. Then we'll move into HamSa. When we, and to add to Kumbhaka, so for those of you who haven't practiced doing any bandha work, bandha is the the word itself, bandha. So these are locks, they're energy locks. We'll practice 2 different bandhas during Kumbhaka. So the first the first bandha is Jalandhara bandha, and this is where you bring your chin into your chest. What this does is it seems counterintuitive, but when you bring your chin into your chest, this is not actually closing your throat. What's happening, so if you think of your throat as kind of a tube, which it is, when you fold it forward, you're just sort of widening the tube. You're flattening it a little bit. You're not closing it off. You're flattening it like this. Because if you bring your chin to your chest, you can still breathe through your mouth and through your nose. I mean, through your mouth, it's hard to open your mouth, but you can certainly breathe through your nose. If your nose is stuffy or clogged, then you will not do Jalandhara bandha. With Kumbhaka, we will practice on your inhale. You will engage Mula bandha. So Mula bandha is your root lock, and Mula means root. Mula bandha is where you are engaging your pelvic floor muscles. Specifically, Mula bandha is actually the muscles between the perineal muscles between your anus and whatever sexual organs you've got. So it's that space in between, very specific muscles. It's not clenching your butt. It's not clenching your sphincter. So I've had several different teachers explain it different ways. So imagine that there's a pearl and you are trying to pick up the pearl with those middle muscles and what it feels like. Then the other kind of description is, imagine that you've got this drawstring purse and you're pulling on the drawstring and how it shuts the purse like that. So if you go doop, doop, I know these are all kind of like feminine examples. Guys, I'm not really even sure like how to explain that to you. I don't know what it would feel like for a guy. But you're specifically getting the muscle in front of your butt muscle. So you're not clenching your cheeks and you're not clenching your sphincter. So it's right in front of that. Oh, one good way to think about it is if you have to pee and then stop in the middle of the pee. So you're catching your pee. Like if you've ever peed in a cup and you don't want to fill up the cup, you have to pee, stop. That's the muscle that you're looking for. Okay, that's Mula bandha. So on the inhale, we will engage Mula bandha. And on the exhale, at the very bottom, once we get to the baya, that we won't be holding, once you get to the bottom of your exhale, that's when you release Mula bandha. And then on your inhale, you bring it up again. So we will do both of those doing Kumbhaka. Jalandhara bandha is a very helpful practice when you're doing certain pranayama. And we do this a lot, or I like to add it to Kapalabhati, because when you're doing certain breathing exercises, it helps keep your shoulders out of your ears, because we have a tendency to let all of the tension come up into our shoulders. And also we use our shoulder muscles to breathe. So in order to avoid that, if you just drop your skull, then it's more effort to actually try to breathe with your shoulders. So that's a nice way of doing it. If that gets in your way, then don't do that. So that's Kumbhaka. We'll get to that one. HamSa. So HamSa is very simple. And it is one of my favorite practices. This is my 3 a.m. wake up in the middle of the night and all of my negative thoughts start happening. This is what I remind myself to do. This is what I circle around to. This is my version of counting sheep. And it helps me go to sleep. So HamSa is a so there's 2 parts to the word. Hum is on the inhale, sa is on the exhale, and it's pronounced HAMSA. So hum on the inhale, sa on the exhale. If you are a person that thinks of breath the other way, if you exhale first, then your mantra is so hum. So you're thinking so hum. So hum. So you just sort of reverse those. So instead of HamSa, it's so hum. And it's an interesting meditation. It's an interesting mantra. It's a word or phrase that means I am that. This is sort of the sound. It's a natural sound that happens in your mind and your body. And this is a practice that there's a specific type of meditation that is called a japa japa. A-J-A-P. Ape. This is hard to spell when all the letters sort of sound the same. A-J-A-P-A, japa, a japa, and then japa, J-A-P-A. So the word japa in Sanskrit, it means repeating or remembering a mantra. A japa means, that word itself means without effort, or the A, I should say, means without effort. And so a japa is constant awareness of a mantra or what it represents. So this is how you sort of put this concept together with HamSa. HamSa is sort of a natural mantra that you think of. So you're not saying it, you're thinking it with the breath. Hum, sa. Hum, sa. I am that is what this means. Regardless of the order in which you're saying the words, it doesn't matter. So hum is I am, sa, that. And even if you put them in the other direction, that I am, it still means the same thing. So you're thinking about your connection to the universe. This is a universal thought. This is a universal connector, a universal energy, a universal mantra. I'm breathing with all of existence. You are part of all of awareness, all of time. I mean, you could really get very deep and interwoven with this very simple mantra. So the mantra itself is one aspect of this. But then you add in the breath, and it becomes this breath. You're not even thinking about the breath you're not counting breath. I don't care how long the inhale or how long or short the exhale, it doesn't matter. That you are breathing is all that matters. And you're focusing on the hum on the inhale, sa on the exhale, or so on the exhale, hum on the inhale. And the ajapa japa, this continuous awareness with this repetition, you don't have to think about it anymore at a certain point. You're just doing it. Hum, sa. Hum, sa. Maybe you spend some time thinking about what does the word even mean? What's the mantra mean as I'm breathing and as I'm thinking this, chanting it in your head. And then at a certain point, perhaps you just become absorbed in it. Simple as that. Simple, not easy. If your mind wanders, and it does, you just simply bring it back again. And I'm adding in this restorative pose with it so that you don't have to sit here in this cross-legged position. You don't have to worry about a meditation asana per se. You're as comfortable as you could possibly be. And so you're being mindful about your pose. and then you're being mindful about your breath. Okay. So the practice itself. So from start to finish, we will probably be doing another half an hour. So if you don't have all of your stuff, all of your props, go ahead and get more pillows or blankets or whatever. And if you want a blanket over you to use as a blanket, as opposed to like propping you up, go for it. Go find that. What I want you to do is we're going to start in a seated position. Do beginning breath work. I'm going to ease you into all this stuff. We'll move into Kumbhaka. I'll do about 5 minutes of Kumbhaka, and I'll lead you in all of that as well. Then in between Kumbhaka, we'll sort of release that practice, make sure that all of your stuff is nearby. We'll have a minute or two to get into your reclining cobbler pose. We'll take another several breaths once you get into the pose to make sure that you're as comfortable as possible. And I want you to remember, if you've ever done yin with me or at all, yin and restorative are two different beasts. In yin, there is discomfort because you're doing a stretch. Not so in restorative. In restorative yoga, you are getting as comfortable as possible. You are supported. You are propped up. If you feel discomfort, I hate to say it, but you're doing it wrong. I don't like to say that in yoga, but you're truly not, this is not a stretch. And even when I say like laying like this is a chest opener, if that's discomfort, if you feel any sort of actual feeling of stretching, then I need you to support your arms so that they're not wide open, so that they're resting a little bit higher up on the floor. Okay. So that's just some words about restorative before we get into it. Okay. So make sure you've got all your stuff. I'll talk you through everything. And then when we get to the point of coming out of HamSa, out of your restorative pose, I will we'll do the singing bowl. Okay. I haven't done this in a long time. It has a nice sound in this space. I was concerned because the lady upstairs and the lady next door, they both have dogs in this business, in this office building. I was half expecting the dogs to start howling, but anyway, they did not. Okay. So to take you out of HamSa, I will strike the singing bowl. When we come out of it, we're going to take several minutes to notice where we are, notice how we feel and things like that. And since we're not together, we can't have a discussion about anything that you experienced. So afterwards, feel free to reach out to me and let me know how this felt to you, or even if I could have done something different. So at the end, after you're done with this, certainly let me know how it went. I like to get some feedback, not necessarily, I mean, certainly on my teaching, but on how it felt to you. So excuse me. So get yourself comfortable in a seated position, upright to begin with. Find a nice upright posture. Soften your face, soften your jaw. Just notice your breath. Nothing to change. No need to adjust your breath, although anytime something is noticed or observed, it kind of naturally changes, whether you want it to or not. Notice the sounds around you. There's no sense if you have friends or family or kids or pets or anything around you, certainly let them know that you are practicing, but life goes on around you. So even if there are sounds around you, just let them be. Keeping your mouth soft, tongue filling up the space between your back molars. Lips are together, but not pursed. So they're just gently together. Breathing through your nose. Count how long it takes for you to inhale and count how long it takes for you to exhale. Again, you don't need to change anything. Just see how long it takes on the inhale and the exhale. Now let's see if you can increase your inhale to a count of 3 and your exhale to a count of 6. Now adjust your breath to inhale to a count of 4, exhale a count of 4. Nice, easy, balanced breath, Samavrita. Bring your chin down to your chest. We're going to sort of encourage a type of Ujjayi breath. So chin to your chest. And still 4 breaths on the inhale, or 4 beats on the inhale, count of 4 on the exhale. This will be our Ujjayi breath. And release your Ujjayi breath. You can lift your chin if you like, releasing Jalandhara Bandha. We'll move into our Kumbhaka. So you can bring your chin to your chest if you like. If you feel like you can keep your shoulders down, then you don't need to worry about Jalandhara Bandha. Moving into Kumbhaka. So let's do 3 breaths again on the inhale, and then hold for 3 breaths at the top, 6 breaths on the exhale. Three breaths on the inhale, or 3 counts on the inhale. Count of 3 at the top, at the Antara, and then 6 on the exhale. And if the 6 counts on the exhale is too long, if that creates any sort of anxiety, decrease the number of counts on the exhale. Do whatever feels comfortable. Your focus is on the retention of the breath at the top, the Antara. So if there's any sort of anxious feeling, then decrease the number of the exhale. And when you're ready on the inhales, engage Mula Bandha. Mula Bandha stays engaged at the top of your inhale. Mula Bandha stays engaged throughout the exhale, and at the bottom of the exhale, release it for a beat. And then when you go back into your inhale, re-engage Mula Bandha. One thing that you may notice when you hold, when you retain the breath at the top, it may feel more comfortable for your breath to not be completely full, for you not to have filled up entirely in your lungs. So practice perhaps maybe only a 3/4 way full lung capacity. So play around with that. It may not be comfortable for you to completely fill your lungs on that count of 3 on the inhale. Or maybe it is more comfortable because you feel like you're getting all the oxygen. If you are filling all the way to the top, one thing that I might suggest is after you're done holding the breath at the top, take one more little sniff of an inhale before you exhale. That sort of helps to release tension for your exhale so that you're not gasping it out. After your next exhale, release your practice of Kumbhaka. That's been about 5 minutes. Take some comfortable breaths. No longer counting, no longer holding, releasing Mula Bandha. And let's take some moments to come into your reclining cobbler. And I'm going to practice this with you. I don't often do that. One thing, if you are laying back onto a bolster, if you get any kind of like little back bend that's happening because of the way that you're positioning yourself, you may need to have a little bit of blanket underneath your butt. It may not take much, but just that extra little lift may be enough to keep you from feeling like you've got a big tilt in your pelvis. So it may just need a little bit of a lift. So you can try that. Again, you're not looking for a stretch. You're not necessarily looking for a back bend here. You are going to be getting, what you're really looking for is this nice elongated torso. And having an opening in your chest is simply to counteract all of the hunching and rounding that we do throughout the day. Once you get settled, take a couple of breaths and notice if there's anything that you can do to make yourself even like 20% more comfortable. Notice your breath. If you need to put something over your eyes, not necessarily just to block out the light, but to keep you from having to focus on keeping your eyes closed, just a gentle little weight, even a washcloth over your eyes can help your ocular nerves to relax, your ocular muscles to relax, your face to relax. See if there's any way that you can lengthen your spine a little bit more, making sure that you've got space between your chest and your belly, that your neck isn't being crunched, your back isn't being crunched. When you're ready, thinking to yourself on your inhales, think the word hum. On the exhales, think the word sa. If your mind wanders off of HamSa, just gently bring it back, thinking the word hum on the inhale and thinking the word sa on the exhale. If your mind wanders, keep bringing it back. Hum on the inhale, sa on the exhale. Or maybe you want to try so on the exhale, hum on the inhale. Deepen your breath. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, stretch whatever needs to be stretched. Take your time moving yourself out of your reclined position. If it feels good to roll to the side for a little bit before coming up to a seated position, then do that. Take your time. Then eventually make your way back up to seated. Eyes opened or closed. When you're finally upright, take some moments to just notice any sensations you feel in your body and your mind. What is there to notice? And as part of your noticing practice, one thing we frequently notice is where something hurts or a spot of discomfort. But what I'd like for you to also take a look at, because you can't, totally ignore a little bit of discomfort, but notice where you might feel good. Where do you feel no discomfort? Is there a surprising feeling of an openness or a softness? How does your breath feel? Let's close with some ohms. I haven't done that in a while. Take a deep inhale. Let's do 2 more of those. May all beings in the universe be happy and free, and may our actions and our thoughts contribute to their happiness and their freedom. Namaste, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day or evening, and I will see you next time. Bye, everyone.